Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. As you can tell from the title, this is going to be a sort of a mixing video. Again, I'm not like a big engineer, but I'm a producer, DJ that makes music for the club. I think that's important to have that cap on, especially when you're writing music. If you're a DJ and you write dance music, house music, techno for dance floors, I think it's important to have a bit of a mix engineering cap on you in terms of you're making music for the club. Now, maybe you make music for radio purposes and that's fine. Be kind of maybe produced and mixed in different ways. But in this one, I want to focus on the main topic of how to know when your track is sort of mixed and ready to be sent for mastering, or maybe ready to be mastered yourself and sent off to DJs or labels or whatever. The short answer is you'll never really know when it's finished in terms of mixing. So this could be actually a bit of when to know your track is finished and when to know, how to know your track is kind of ready to be mixed down. Now, there's a couple of things I look at when I am mixing down my final kind of product, my final track. And I look out for a few things. And in this video, I want to go over those few things and sort of how to know when they're finished and kind of when to call it a day and say, okay, it's done. So this is a particular record, which is, it's out. It's actually out today. It's obviously mixed, it's mastered, all that jazz. And I want to go over the sort of the version I sent off for mastering. Now, is it perfect? By all means, no. Is it, the best track in the world in terms of mixing and production value? No, it's just something that I've made, which I find, which I liked and I enjoyed making, and I mixed down, which I feel like, could be sound good in a club situation or a big speaker. And I kind of, that's from years of ear training and so forth. But I want to go over now the kind of things I look out for when I'm sort of ready to send this off, right? Number one is my kick and bass good, my low end? Because the music that I make and the music that you probably make, because if you're watching this, you make music for club festival settings, DJ settings. And even in radio settings, if your music's getting played on Spotify in a car or, iPod speakers, iPhone speakers, or AirPods and so forth, you want to be able to make sure that you have some good bass in there, good frequencies coming through. So first thing I always do is I always have a look at what's going on. This is done at the very start of my whole production process, but this is something that I will always look at. I'll always look at this throughout the whole stages, not just at the very end, at the very start, the middle, end. It's something you need to understand, is that your kick and bass low end is what gives the energy on the dance floor. This is a really important part. There's a reason why when you see the videos on TikTok or Instagram and people put their hands in the air going crazy, it's because the kick and the bass have come in, and that feeling on a big speaker when it comes in is like what gives people that, put their hands in the air, they dance, it's a release of energy after the build up. It's a really important part of the track. So I really like to put a lot of my energy and focus. I don't leave this sort of like, to the side. Like, I put a lot of focus on this, and it could be a lot more simpler than you think. So I never layer too much. It depends really on the track itself. But let's have a look at the kick and bass in this case. So I have just a kick loop. I'm actually going to turn off the limiter for a sec. All right, so I've actually never really done this. So I would usually have the kick's nice. The kick has a nice punch to it. And I could take out the kick, and that's something I would do, but I had a nice little bit of a drum in there, which I thought was cool, very light. So I would do this probably as well. you know, you can separate the kick, but I liked it. It sounded cool. Yeah, punchy sound to it, good sample selection. I liked it. I just done some light EQ and a little bit of saturation. Very minimal here. It didn't need a lot, so I didn't really feel like it needed a lot. Maybe your kick needs a bit more, but just in this particular case, I used a kind of a kick loop with a bit of a little snare in there, which is fine. You can do that. There's no issues there. It's pretty it's a minimalistic loop. There's not a lot in there, so you can kind of get away with it in this case. So I like just to shave away some unwanted frequencies here, because they might translate on a bigger system, so I'm just wary of that, because there's some unwanted sub frequencies here which you might not hear on your laptop speaker, but they will definitely come through on a bigger system. There's always, I got told this by Josh Butler, he told me this years ago, and I do it all the time on kick drums. There's just an unwanted area of mid frequencies on 909 bass drums. This will be a 909, which it's just nasty. And okay, next thing, let's mix it with the bass. So I actually bounced it to audio. This is the original bass from the Korg Triton. I need to renew my software license, but this is basically the chain of effects which is recorded into this. So very kind of an electro-y, weird bass line. I've never really done this kind of bass. I was very surprised at myself. Actually, I usually go for like a subbier bass, maybe more of a 90s bass, but all I did here is really, the main focus here is EQ and saturation. If you can remember this, something I've learned over the years is that EQ and saturation are going to be your best friends in mixing down electronic dance music. I've shaved away so much mixing stuff, and I always just resort, these are the guys, your bread and butter is EQ and saturation. Compression, you can live without it. You don't need it. Only if you need it, you know, you will compress stuff, but you can live without it. But EQ and saturation, I feel like, just does so much, and it's, again, it's feel like it's a real bread and butter here. So saturation, some EQ, I shaved off some high end, and then just a little bit of side chaining under the kick, and then just a little push with the limiter. That's it. And I produced this. Cool. And for me, that sounded good. That's it. I can go into, I would have maybe done, looking back, a little group maybe, but that wouldn't have done much of a difference, you know. So yeah, I could have grouped them together, but I just didn't in this case, so it's fine. We'll move on. Okay, so let's bring in the drums here. Okay. Okay, some nice layering going on. It's layering just to get a bit more energy, a bit more layers, but they're very light. If I solo these, I'll get into them now in a second. If I solo these, they're not too heavy. So that's giving it a little bit of attack. So everything has a reason here. That's your mid-range chug going on. Hi-hat, high element, high clap. So on its own, this high clap is really just not amazing. I think I pitched up a lot, actually, a little bit. Yeah, so, you know, I don't want to give the impression I'm just adding a load of stuff for no reason. There is a method behind the madness here. Maybe you won't do the same amount of layering, but in this particular project, I felt like just a layering of drums here was my main sort of like kind of secret to the sauce in this case. You know, sometimes I go less is more. I might just give a one little loop, an open hat, and then really focus on that because I have more musical elements. But this is a very drum focused track. So the layering here really gives that, that's from the 606 Roland. Great plug-in. And I actually sidechained this loop because I felt like it was too in your face. And I frequency shifted it at some stage to give a bit of, no, I didn't use it actually, I thought I did. Anyway, I'm not doing a full track from scratch. I just want to, this particular video I don't want to go on and digress is how to know when your track is ready. Okay, so with the layering, with the kick and bass, with everything coming together, I can really feel like in my head now. No more is needed. The amount of loops, the amount of sounds just is case by case, but in this case, I will shut the door on adding more sounds because they all do the required job. They all have their own home, their own space, they're all doing their own thing, and I would EQ. I didn't feel like I needed too much EQing because all the elements, they naturally came together. And that is a beautiful way of making music when you don't have to like really go crazy on plugins and EQ. If you need them, definitely go in, but they all just naturally, one of these ones, it all just came together. So really look into your sample selection like first. Like I always hone down on this so much. It's like, it's so important that you don't need to do so much work in the mixing process because everything just comes together like a nice cake organically. You don't have to do a million plugins. And at the start of your journey, you might have lots of plugins, and some I might have a few extra, but there's a method to the madness with everything here. So just have your own method to your own madness. And madness is not really a great word, but you know, just have all your sounds naturally flow together so you won't have to do too much mixing. Okay. Okay, so I don't have a lot, it's again a drum focused track, so I don't have a lot of top line elements, but here one is a vocal, so very simple vocal phrase.
Show no fear.
All I felt like I needed was a bit of chorus, and I actually have no reverb on this.
Show no fear. Show no fear.
I feel like it didn't need reverb, which is strange because usually I would add a bit of reverb. But there you go. If it doesn't need it, you don't need it. It had a natural kind of reverb to it, a nice dry feel to it as well. This is great as well. It's just a little. I had a funny joke from a friend. He said to me, Robbie Doherty told me, you know him, he says that it's, you know, the old tubes that you blow when you're a kid, and then you turn upside down, it sounds like that. But yeah, so it's just again, this is for creative effect, not necessarily how to know when your track is fully mixed, but this is not a track breakdown. I might do a separate one, but I want to kind of go a little bit faster here. But yeah, so not much channels going on here, but the main focus here was to see if the energy was right, if all the elements came together naturally, if I need to mix down EQ and give things its own space, add saturation, and that's my bread and butter. That'd be your bread and butter. You don't have to do a lot extra here. So I kind of went through all the elements really. Again, it's not a track breakdown, but on some of my musical elements, all I do is really make sure is that they're nice and wide. So the chorus is a great way to get things nice and wide in your channels. So I didn't actually EQ too much because I didn't need to EQ it. Low end, there's a little bit of low end, I probably could take that out. It's okay. It's okay. Everything's nice and wide.
Show no fear.
That's great space.
Show no fear. Show no fear. Show no fear.
The space is great. For me, that was perfect.
Show no fear. Show no fear.
And this little thing is great. It's from the, I forget what synth it's from, but it's a little,
Show no fear. Show no fear.
just from MIDI from a synth, not a track breakdown like I said before, so I don't want to go too much divulge, but point is, my drums, my bass, everything came through very nice. Then all my musical elements just sort of like a cake layer sit on top and they don't fight. Nothing is fighting. If nothing is fighting and everything just sort of sounds like it has its own home, that for me is when I know a track is kind of done, it's mixed, ready to go. I'm confident. I will then just simply either pull all the channels down, it's quite a very low, everything's pretty low, or pull it down a little bit here in the limiter, and that's it. There's no mastering plugins here at all.
Show no fear. Show no.
Yeah. And that's how I know, or I feel a track is mixed for me. All those reasons that I mentioned there a second ago. Hope you liked it. Do let me know in the comments how you found that, how you found the, my processes. Just this is the way I do things. It's not perfect. Imperfections also great. So focus on your own imperfections, your own little ways, and take it on board. And do let me know how you found it. And I'd love to hear your feedback. So again, a subscribe really helps with the channel. Really helps me, feel like the channel is growing, and I'll produce more content for you guys. And if you do have any further questions, you do feel like you need a bit of extra help with your music, do give me a message on Instagram, which is the link is in bio, and I'm happy to answer some questions and help where is needed. So yeah, guys, thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.